Hey guys, and welcome to season 4 of the Yes People podcast. I'm your host Savia Rocks, and in this season, we get to remember and reminisce back in time with some of our guests like...
Hey, we are Entity, and you're listening to
the Us People podcast
with Savia Rocks.
Hey, my name is Stephen Ridley, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with the lovely Savia Rocks, keeping it positive.
Hi, my name is James Green. I'm a TV presenter, sports reporter and journalist.
Hi, this is Joy Langley, and I'm the author of Navigating Stress.
Hey, this is Travis Glossop. I am a creative radio producer for Kiss FM, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
We highlight the strengths of our cultures, talking about diversity and inclusion, and speaking out loud and proud about who we are.
I was never that good. I was determined. I had a love for the sport, and that always fueled me.
But arriving into London and kind of growing up in a really difficult situation, trying to kind of make sense of my life with with at home and not being accepted by the people around me, because there was, in the 60s, there was tremendous racism growing up in London.
It's great. I'm glad, because I'll be honest, I didn't really work that hard at uni, so it was good to leave uni and really get on it, really because I also, as a person, I think I value productivity. A lot of people live to work. I think I am one of the work to live guys, but because my work is amazing, that's all right with me. So as a person, I go to bed happy when I've had a productive day.
We've also saved the best till last by honouring another artist and showcasing their talent as our new theme song, with none other than your host, Savia Rocks, featuring in their song. So guys, enjoy, stay creative, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Let's go.
Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace when I wake up.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Yes People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am abundantly humbled to have the beautiful Neil here with me. Neil is a well-being and business coach, but also a fiction writer. That's a good way to start the show.
It is. I'm right here. It's okay. We can press pause.
Oh, Neil is a well-being and business coach, but also a fiction writer. That's a beautiful way to start the podcast. Neil, welcome so much, and thank you for coming on the Yes People podcast. How are you?
I'm really, really well, and I'm really, really happy to kind of be sharing this interview with you as well, and kind of chatting. So yeah, it's a Saturday night. I'm well fed, had nice food, watched a terrible episode of Prime Suspects, and I'm ready.
I love it.
Avoid series 4. Seriously.
Okay.
Seriously. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Series 4. I don't know what the hell happened.
But maybe it's a time in their life where sometimes you use midlife crisis.
Well, this might be useful or not. Probably not at all. But what they did was they decided to do single story episodes, and you can see they're trying to make it fit into, a typical police drama mode. So it's it really loses
the essence,
that depth. Yeah. So yeah. But we're determined to get through them all. So me and my husband have kind of sat through a second awful one tonight.
Oh man, I love that. See, now I know what to do with my partner. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, the first question that I adore and I love asking people goes into the depth of who you are as a person. So, my first question is, could you tell me about your background, but also where you grew up, but more importantly, how that influenced you to be the beautiful person who you are today?
Thank you. So I grew up in Liverpool, and I was born in 1969. third generation Jewish from Poland or Russia, depending who was winning the war that week, which is, why. So we're talking the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. It's that push when the Jews were being persecuted, and also one of my few published short stories is about just that. So I kind of grew up in Liverpool in the 80s. Very, very small community. I realised that I didn't feel I really fitted in very well from a very early age. I kind of think that's partly about it. It's funny. I think your political outlook can be there at the age of 5, or your sense of justice about myself. And so I felt very much out of step. Kind of growing up, and by the time I was 5, so that would have been 1974. Very bad year for Elton John. Oh no, one bad Elton John album that year. And then but when I was about 11 or 12, I also realised I was gay, which was also an interesting thing to discover. Found out since I'm neurodivergent as well. So there's quite a lot that was pushing me not to feel like I fitted in as I was growing up. I've always been very creative, or had a heavy interest in creativity, particularly writing stories and songwriting was what I heavily did when I was younger, when I was growing up. And kind of fiction writing, as you mentioned, that's more recent. And so I kind of moved to London when I was 21, after 3 years in Stoke, which is where I did English and Law as my degree, and went into a very short and disastrous career in a warehouse company in a management trainee scheme. They were so right to get rid of me, I tell you.
Oh dear, I love this.
Yeah. There's one particular memory which I don't know whether I should tell or not. But then I decided to go into teacher training, partly because lots of the 2 or 3 members of my family had done it, and partly because I didn't know what the hell else to do. I never had a real calling, and it never really occurred to me that the thing that I was really meant for was music or writing. I never took that seriously, and that's not what that's not what you do. If you're third generation, you've got to prove to the country that you're making a contribution, and there are certain jobs that are significant and prove that you're doing something and giving something back, and others that don't. So I went into education, and kind of I started off as an English teacher, wasn't very good at that, and kind of found my way into wellbeing, kind of PSHE, personal social health education, and then I really found everything kind of clicked together. Unfortunately, that included my politics. So 25 years later, is this too long an explanation?
No, I love it. Listen, I'm in my comfortable mode right now. I'm just
that's cool. Kick back, put your feet up, like.
I got time.
Yeah, that's true. So 25 years later, I kind of at the point where it was clear that I could not fit in and was not welcome. I was my job changed so much that I couldn't really do it anymore. At that point, also I developed fibromyalgia, and after I'd left the profession, I then discovered very soon after that I actually was living with PTSD as well, which I would say, I mean, obviously these things come from a lifetime of whatever you've been through, but I think particularly that the real push was 25 years of having line managers that were, quite dismissive and bullies. And I do think the education system is founded on hierarchy in bullying intrinsically.
Yeah.
So another reason why it didn't make me very popular. So I kind of needed to start again at that point. And then there's a friend of mine that always says, "You're so bored of hearing me tell this story." I'm kind of telling people about my life, but so basically, so at 49, me and my husband, we were on the M4 corridor. We were going to Cornwall to do a recce for a detective novel that I've never written since. So I've only got part way through, but the weather conditions were torrential. And essentially, we somehow survived what should have been a fatal crash, and everything changed from there. I kind of got out of the car and was very much like, "What am I doing? You know, what are we doing?" And that's when, yeah, by the end of that year, I was out of education. I do think those two things go together. And then I retrained, trying to take the best of what I'd learned from being in the education system, which is, many things. I don't want to make it sound like it's all just one tone, which was about really trying to make a difference to people's lives and listening well and helping people kind of create who they want to be. And I heard about, I'd researched coaching about a year before I left, and education, and yeah, that's kind of what I retrained and did. And the course, I was just talking about this earlier today, but actually the course healed me at the same time as taught me.
I like that.
And I'm not the only coach. I've heard other coaches say similar things, and I started that course really as a shell, just up with absolutely stripped of all confidence and sense of who I was, and emerged out of it, ready to embrace a new career. So these days I've had 3 short stories published by 2 independent publishing presses. That's really hard to say this time of night. I'm writing my first novel, which has been ongoing for 9 years, about a middle-aged woman who survives family trauma and sexual trauma in the workplace, and is living with PTSD and is an alcoholic. Which is why it's taken me 9 years to write it. I live with my husband and our wonderful greyhound Albert, who I can currently just about see from here. Just see his big bony bottom sticking up.
Big bony bottom.
He has got an enormously bony bottom, and we live in London. So, and these days, I suppose, just to add to that, having gone from that situation of being very unhappy and very, very troubled, I'd say, for a good part of my life.
Yeah.
The last 3 or 4 years have been a real discovery of finding peace and some sense of understanding of what and who I am and how I can have purpose. So I just feel very grateful in lots of ways. So yes, I think those are the main things. I'm sure the rest will pour out. You only wanted to know where I grew up, didn't you?
No, I love it. No, you told me so much there. It's like, I know what you've been through. I know, you have a beautiful partner, a dog with his bony bum,
That's right.
Bullies. Yeah. There's a lot of bullies around. Trust me. We can also be, to be quite honest with you, when it comes to the subject of bullies, we can possibly make a whole podcast on that alone.
I think, based on some of the reflections you and I've had with each other up till now, I think that's a really, really good idea, particularly if it's something that would help to enable others to kind of give some context and support to themselves and their lives, particularly if they're people that are working so they're able to do the creative thing that they love. Because obviously a lot of us creatives, I'm really, really lucky because coaching is something that I absolutely love, and I never expected it to be a second career, but now I'm happily or unhappily juggling with 2 careers and trying to keep them both on an even keel. But I do, and I see from the people I coach that struggle either to kind of say that the creative outlet is valid on its own instead of making kind of excuses for it, or just trying to cope with a job that's taking up too much space or is too much stress, because most of us aren't going to earn any or very little money from the thing that we count
Passionate
as so
about.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
No, that's definitely.
So yes, okay. So we've arranged another podcast.
Yeah, there
Excellent.
you go. And it's on, guys.
Next.
It's gonna be on bullying. I'm just gonna let you know it's gonna be on bullying, and the reason why it's gonna be on bullying is obviously myself and Neil. And actually, it's funny that this has come up because I was in a cab today, and I was talking to a friend, and he said he left his job. I then said to him, so I said, why did you leave your job? He said, because he was getting bullied as well. And everyone who says this to me, they say, once I left the job, I realized I could excel. And it's funny, they knew they were in the wrong and they paid me extra money. And things like that, when they happen, I know I'm laughing, but it's actually quite serious, but things like that, when they happen, it lets you know how organizations, number one, clearly feel like they have the power to bully somebody and think that it's okay. Number two, know that they're in the wrong and feel that because they have money, they feel that money is power, where it's not, it's actually wisdom. Wisdom and kindness and love are power, not money. Yeah. Guys, just want to relay that to you. They still feel that they can do what they want, but I need to let everyone understand one simple thing I say continuously every single time. And I'm sure this will resonate with you as well, Neil. Karma doesn't miss anybody. Okay, guys? And I'm not a person who says you deserve to have karma to you. No, that's not how my life works. I'm just simply saying that everything that you do in your life, try to do it with a humbleness and a kindness that you have towards somebody else, regardless of your title or power that you feel you have. It's just that organizations, as you know, feel like they can give you trauma that you actually take with you for the rest of your life. And sometimes saying the most simplest of thing in such a negative way towards somebody can actually play out very badly in another person's mind. And me and my other friend had a conversation, and we were talking about there's mental abuse and physical abuse. Physical abuse does last a long time, yes, and it can last a lifetime also. But mental abuse, I feel, just from my perspective, doesn't always mean that I'm right, I feel has a more detrimental effect for the rest of your life. Only saying that because I have been through it and I understand it, and I know many people who have been through it. So Neil, we're definitely going to talk about bullying. That is something that we're definitely going to cover, and I think more people in the world need to be an advocate about bullying, especially in the workplace. But anyways, I'm going to move on, because as serious as that is, can you define who you are as a person? Who do you see when you look in the mirror? What does your reflection say back to you? Not only creatively, but as a person. But on the flip side of that question, in the reverse, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage?
I missed the little you dipping slightly in and out, but not massively, but just I missed that.
No. I'll say it again. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
So
just that last bit about have you ever looked in the mirror sometimes and seen?
Oh, in the reverse, is that the part that you need? So I'll say the whole thing. So basically, has there ever been a time where who are you as a person? Can you define yourself as a person and who you see when you look in the mirror? What does your reflection say back to you creatively and also as a person? But in the reverse of that, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to fulfill and evolve who who you are and come back to being the person that you wanted to be? It's quite a hard one.
No, that's a really wise question, and I do think the journey, obviously not for everyone, but I do think the journey is that one that something like for lots of people, who we are at 5 is hopefully who we come back to be at 50. So, and recently, maybe because of the course, or maybe just because of the way that I'm working these days, I've had a lot of feedback from friends and from other people about me and my values, I guess. And when I look in the mirror, I think I see someone who is creative, a good listener, considerate, change maker.
Yeah, definitely.
And completely inappropriate.
Welcome to my world.
And I'm loving it. I think those are the main ones. I know lots of my views end up being quite controversial, so. And even as I say that, I'm kind of like, that always gives an impression that it's not what I mean at all. But I think I see the world in a very particular way. Yeah. So, and I'm thankful for that. I mean, I think I see that as a strength, and certainly through my journey using kind of practicing mindfulness and particularly what I've learned from Tibetan Buddhist kind of principles, and philosophy, and wonderful writing and podcasts of particularly Tara Brach, Jack Cornfield. Can feel how relaxed my voice is as I'm saying this. I think that kind of it's that kind of peace and groundedness. Yeah. So that's what I see now, and that's what I will fight and not allow anybody else to change or challenge that now. So that's what I would fight for, and maintain boundaries for as well. And so who I surround myself by, the jobs I do, the way I work, particularly given that I only have a finite amount of physical and mental and emotional capacity, and bearing in mind some of that is needs. I need capacity for that to live with fibro and with PTSD as well. That feels really important. So my journey to that, at its worst, at my lowest, I would look in the mirror and see someone who was ugly, stupid, weird, failure, unlovable. Yeah, I think those are and I'm sure that's, again, I feel like I hear, unfortunately it breaks my heart that I hear this all the time as a coach as well, from other people. I think that's, at the worst, that's kind of where it got to, and obviously some of the behaviors and urges that go with that as well, incredibly destructive. Although that's I'm not saying that as a judgmental word, because there's no need for judgment around this, and I think the so-called wellbeing sector does enough of trying to put labels on all of us who are trying to make sense of why sometimes we can't get up in the morning, or can't face what's there. So but I've always had somewhere, even at the lowest, this spark of belief that there's more than that to me, or there's, you know. So I think I feel very blessed that I've got that. I, you know, however much my experience, you know, I might have got to that point, might have been as a result of where I was, who I was surrounded by, and where I came from. I also know that the resilience that I have also came from there as well. So, you know, so easy just to go, that destroyed me, or that did this to me, or and obviously to these days, as God, there's so much of that. Just like, it's them, not me. It's, you know, all that. We were talking about this before, weren't
I
we? That
remember
kind of,
this.
all that binary tribal triggered. It's them over there. But actually, the hardest thing of all is that for most of us, I think, there are some good bits that are entangled with the stuff that really hurts, and that made our lives difficult. You know, that I'm going into the we on purpose, because I think that I think that will resonate for other people. Although I'm also saying it's true for me as well, obviously. But so I think my journey to that has kind of been. I think it took me probably from the age of 20. Well, I can remember I started having panic attacks when I was 5, so I know I was starting from there. I was a people pleaser from there as well,
Yeah.
and my body was already starting to create pain, like stomach aches and stuff, by the time I was 5. So there was already my body was in rebellion about about what I was experiencing then. So, but I think specifically my adult life, from about 23 onwards to till the car crash, I guess, was a slow slide into things getting more and more difficult to manage, with plenty of other good stuff going on as well, obviously, because life again is just not that straightforward. But I think the last 4 years have been about living with what is there, and kind of being able to see myself as I am. So and like I say, I'm so much more like my 5-year-old self than whoever the hell I was trying to be from 22 onwards, when I was a professional in a profession. So yeah,
I love that. So let's talk about your values and living your life. When people say living your dream, it can mean so many things. Living your life as the dream that you want it to be, living your life, but also my main one for you is, how do you believe you lead people to victory with your life values of who you are, but implement that in helping them?
and that's my mission, right? That is the coach's mission. It makes me smile sometimes, even when I'm doing kind of business coaching and debriefing on like performance management audits and stuff. People still sometimes end up leaving my sessions with mindfulness books, or thinking about themselves in a different way. I'm really appreciative of the words you use for that question as well, because I think if there is a problem, part of the problem is we look on paper like we are a society that is doing all of that, but most of the words that I might have used have been are so hollow because they're used so often, but then get twisted round somehow. So there's a billion posts about well-being. There's a billion well-being experts out there, and all of them use the right words. But then suddenly you're in a tick list situation, or a 2-hour workshop that will change your life, or and it's all about them, not about you. And so I would say maybe the number one thing for me, and I'm thinking particularly about the people I work with, is something about letting them fill the space, not me. And for whatever reason, and I count this as a blessing, I have a huge, like you, I have a huge curiosity about people, and I take great joy from connecting with people and hearing their stories, and always appreciate the privilege of them choosing to let me into their life.
Yes.
On some level or other.
Abundantly.
So I feel that responsibility, and I love the idea of leading to victory, but that's not always possible, as you can well imagine. And actually that's okay as well. Just to be able to share someone's journey. I mean, don't get me wrong, I see enormous acts of courage every single week in the coaching that I do, and I hear people make connections and make decisions about their lives that just I just stand in awe of. But equally, just to be able to share their journey for a little while, and if there's one new thing that they can do, and always to prioritize the belief that they've got most of the skills they need, and that if I feel I've got something to offer in terms of the learning that I've done, or a particular tool that I have, and often those are from things that I personally use, particularly around anxiety. I've got this great, after I was diagnosed with PTSD, I had a CBT therapy sessions, and I've got about 40 different exercises that I keep on my phone. So I've used lots of those with people that are really losing where they are in the moment, and so sometimes it is my learning, but also it's from my learning as well. But I think the values of I always think it's better when people are together somehow, and I seem to live in a world where that's I don't think that's very UK. I don't think it's ever been very UK. We're all supposed to be on one point of the ladder somewhere or other, but I do genuinely like seeing people coming together and being able to share difference and appreciate things in each other. So anything that can help lead to that, to make someone feel valued and for them to value themselves, especially in a society that constantly is encouraging us to beat ourselves up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one thing. As a creative, we stand outside of that. So all these messages about needing to smash it and improve, and I hope for most creatives that's something that they go, what are these people doing now? But then also I know there's a huge part of our people that that are very business and marketing minded as well.
Yeah.
So I do work with creatives that are going, no, I need to smash it this year. I need to make, I need to have my first 2 books published, and send a poem off and make a film. So yeah, have I answered the question? I'm not sure I have.
I don't even mind if you have or haven't, to be honest with you. It's just the fact that you just shared your story about how you feel that was good enough.
I think somewhere in there my values are kind of implicit if they're not on the table.
So a lot of the time, and I'm sure this goes into what we've just been speaking about, a lot of the time people, creatives especially, we go to bed and we have this thing in our mind where our mind is constantly working. It's true. In a creative's mind, our mind is constantly working, even when we're sleeping, mostly dreaming about it, about what we need to do, why we need to do it.
That's right.
And even as a person who is self-employed and a creative as well, we have that extra, how can I say, worry of possibly where our next income is coming from.
Yeah.
Are we doing our best? And this all comes into self-sabotage, or there's another word for it. I'm trying to make it I can't remember the word at the moment, but basically it comes down to self-sabotage as well, when we look down at who we are and if we're working hard enough as a person. So do you have any advice? And this is so important for creatives in the world who feel that even though they are working extremely hard, and I know you guys are out there who are working hard, do you have any advice, Neil, that you could give them about trying not to worry as much, because your health is your wealth, not your wealth is your health, the other way around. But is there anything that you could tell us as creative people that will help us to have an insight, to stop the worry, to keep on going, to have the courage and believe in ourselves more?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and as you can imagine, that is a lot of the work that I'm doing with creatives all the time. I think a really big one is to know what the narratives that we tell ourselves are, and obviously that will be different for individuals. But I think common ones are, I'm being indulgent. That somehow creating a piece of art or photography or a poem or a picture or a story. Why am I putting my own last? That's funny.
No, I like it. It's good.
Is there's something indulgent about that? It's not. Even though we don't believe it, it still is the story that plays in our heads. So we could actually give this up, and we could just bring real money in and support our families better, and there's that element. And yet I don't think I've met the creative yet that hasn't suffered when they try and stifle their creative urge. So in terms of well-being, I know this isn't true for everyone, but for me and for plenty of other creative people that I've met, it's not a choice. It sounds like talking about sexuality. It reminded me of conversations about being gay, actually. But
that's a whole nother podcast as well.
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah, damn right. It's not a choice. When I wasn't writing songs, and latterly, if I don't, it doesn't have to be. I don't have to create the best story I've ever written. It doesn't matter, but it can be the tiniest bit of editing on a particular day, and it often is. Because most of writing is the most mundane, boring to look at stuff you could possibly imagine, because it's all in the detail. It's when you stand back, right? So, but if I don't do that, I really feel that something's vital is missing. So part of it is kind of acknowledging the creative urge, and also just trying to catch some of these stories that we might tell ourselves, or we might have been told about creativity, because society as well does not place creativity as part of the wider picture of what's acceptable as work. I mean, the real problem is, as you already said, is that gaining an income from creative work is incredibly difficult for most of us. If one more person says J.K. Rowling to me, I think I might scream. Not least of all because of the transphobia, but no, let's not go there. No. Edit. I got an interesting J.K. Rowling story actually, which is at some point that where was I? Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, you know, most I think there's something about accepting that we may, not in a negative way, but likelihood is we're not going to earn a fortune from it. So if we can accept that, what is the life that we need to live in order to eat and to have some standard of living that also allows us creative space? So again, not to resist the urge to get binary about it and go it's either this or this, but to actually let those elements coexist. So I think that's the first thing. And for me, some of that was around the meditation practice and just naturally that coming, that kind of coming together. Starting my working life all over again at 50 also really helped. And I think the next step after that is lovely dyslexic moment, because that's just completely out of my head what I was going to say now. What was I going to say? There's the acceptance bit, but then there's also how that's going to play out on a week to week basis, I think.
Yeah.
And being okay with that, and there is an extra responsibility, I think, in the sense that we are more likely to have to work around the edges of our lives. So I know loads of people who are up at 5 a.m, or, doing their edits at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, exactly. And I also think you're completely right that creativity lies often in the unconscious, which means it's when we switch off that it's more likely to switch on. So so for me personally, I don't know about other people, but I've got post-it notes by the toilet. That's probably more information than you need. And it's kind of by my bed. And yeah, there've been times where I kind of creep out of bed to try not to disturb my husband and my dog. Yes, you heard me. 36-kilogram greyhound in a bed. I know. And I put the light on in the toilet and just scribbling down post-it notes because I don't want that idea to get lost. So I think it's kind of living with the piece of that, and then also giving ourselves a break when we just can't do it.
Yeah, most definitely.
So just like and not expecting to be producing perfection and great work every day.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know this, but I imagine for most creative people, the process itself, a lot of it is incredibly time intensive, and it's absorbing, but to watch would be rather dull, because it's all about it's the technicality of it, isn't it, that then
Yep, it sure is.
makes it look spontaneous and wonderful, hopefully, or read really well. Yeah, 9 years later, or whatever, yeah. So I think all of those things, but more importantly, or maybe just as importantly, I'm kind of thinking of the kind of mindfulness perspective on this now as well. But to remember that yes, I might be a writer, but that's not who I am. That's that's something that I do, and
Exactly.
not to get too over attached to the idea of me being a writer. So I remember very early on after the car crash and after I'd left education, I had this fantasy, had this fantasy of kind of going to the sea and doing some writing, and I was the writer that was sitting by looking at the beach, and I did do it, and it was beautiful actually. It really was healing, but I don't need that, right on the top, right on the couch most of the time.
I thought you were gonna say to
I
me
was
right on
going
the
to say on the
toilet.
toilet there. I know,
Just say it, it's fine.
I haven't actually. I haven't. But I would say if I had. But I know some people need a particular space as well. I'm not trying to be. That is very true. But for me personally, I don't really need anything. I can do it anywhere. It's the most unromantic thing possible. So so that's what I do, and I'm really glad it's what I do. but it's not who I am.
Exactly. One of the things that actually you might be able to resonate with, has there ever been a time, and this happens to me all the time, and especially as a songwriter, where I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming, I'm in that mode, and a song comes in my head, and I have a whiteboard next to my bed. It's massive, like literally a whole bed. So I can get up like you do and spontaneously write stuff on it. And it's crooked when I wake up. I don't remember writing that. But has there ever been a time, though, where you've been in sleep mode and a story comes in your head, but in your dream, and I'm sure this has happened to a lot of people, you think you're writing it down?
I've written stories in my dream. Yeah, that I'll never be able to capture. And also, I mean, I love hearing you saying that about songwriting. Songwriting for me dried up when I was 40. I've no idea why. It's not something I actively remember think. I knew I'd come to a full stop in terms of the kind of songs I was writing, and then I think the fiction writing has taken over a lot of that brain space. But I'm really lucky. The piano that I learnt on when I was a kid is now in our house. I'm looking at it literally as I'm talking to you, and I got it tuned by the same guy who is my chimney sweep as well. That's an interesting dual job role, that, right?
Wow.
There you are. There's a creative in action. So he cleaned my chimney, and then the week after that, he came back and tuned my piano.
That's different. That's really different. I like that.
I love that, and I did it with the absolute intention of starting to songwrite again, and I'm having to be really kind to myself because the tap is not turning on naturally. I bought, recently I've got I know this is personal taste, but I'd never listened to Taylor Swift before. I didn't know. I just thought she was kind of off the peg pop singer, and then I discovered the breadth of what she writes about 3 years ago, and that kind of inspired me to want to start as well, because a lot of the chord structure she uses are really simple and elegant, and the guys she writes with, two of the main writers that she writes with, I now absolutely love. So I bought some of this. I bought some of the songbooks as well, and nothing's coming yet, so I'm having to be really kind of gentle with myself and say it will come. My fantasy was I'd record it on my phone, just some chords. My phone's voice note, the quality, the microphone is so awful. I can't hear a thing. It's really bad. It's really bad. I don't know why, because some people's phones are brilliant. So I've now found a mic that I can attach to it, but now I need to earn enough to get the mic. And then it's like, am I just procrastinating? Am I not? But I've got to trust my gut here and say, wait until I can get the mic, then write the chords down. And I really hope that I will have that experience again at some point.
You will have that experience.
I used to love it when, why is everything on the toilet today? But I remember distinctly, like, there's been 2 or 3 times in my life when I've gone to the toilet to miterate, and I've needed to get finished quickly because a song's popped into my head. I love that. Well, I don't love that, but I just love the fact that kind of happens. That it would strike from absolutely nowhere. But so I've got some work to do on that. So I still call myself a songwriter, but as I say, 13 years I haven't written any songs. But
it will come back to you. It will come.
Yeah, like you say, I think it will come back. So yeah,
I think everything in life is a patience thing, and once we understand that sometimes in our life we're transitioning and going through things, and some people call it writer's block, some people call it evolving. We all have a different terminology for it.
As a coach, I absolutely don't believe in writer's block. I believe that some things just take longer to bubble.
I like the fact that you said that.
Yeah, well, I don't want to write what I've written before when it comes to songs. and I've got no interest in doing it. So my brain will automatically sieve out anything that sounds like what I've done before. So, I guess there is, I'm just reflecting on this now. So there is probably quite a lot of work going on, but there's nothing yet that's come that's made that's made me go,
Ooh.
that's where I want to be headed. Yeah. And I think Taylor Swift holds the key somewhere, but it means unlearning the way I've written everything before, which is going to be interesting as well.
So if I turned around to you, Neil, and I said to you, if there was one song in the world, one song that was the soundtrack of your life, what song would you choose and why would you choose that particular song?
That's a really interesting question. If it was one singer, I can answer that, or two singers, I can answer that immediately for the people whose voices represent what's at my core. I'd say Marvin Gaye or Billie Holiday. That wouldn't be a. That's not something. That's not something. Yeah, definitely. Those are the two people that can make me feel completely elated, or really, really vulnerable and cry. But in terms of a song, the song that comes into my head, and I should trust my gut on this, is I don't want it to be this song though. Okay, Don Henley.
Okay, let's go. Okay, Don.
who I love, but for a bunch of people that have never listened or heard me before, yeah. Sorry, Don Henley. I don't want you to be the person that they first think of. But the song's called "The Heart of the Matter."
Oh, that's a good title, though.
And it's the last. So it's. I think it was 1989. It was the album that had the first track was quite a searing condemnation of the war, and he, nearly got into trouble for that. And the last song on it is I'm just trying to remember the chorus now as well. So it's something like, when you get down to the heart of the matter, oh God, no. My will gets weak and my thoughts seem to scatter, but I think it's about forgiveness, even if you don't love me anymore. And I think there's something in the absolute simplicity of that really I tend to come back round to that. If you actually want to know what the most played song on my Apple Music is, obviously because we can do this these days. God, what is it? I'm slightly trepidatious about doing this now, but okay, let's have a quick look. Playlists, top 25. So this will be from 2009 onwards or something like that, innit? I think, since I've had it. I'm asking you. You don't know when I got Apple Music first, do you? Sorry, Savia. Stupid. Okay, just give me a second. Top 25 most played. Oh my God. Okay, so my top most played song throughout the whole of my all of my music, and I listen to an incredible. I listen to an enormous amount of different genres. So it's a French singer.
Oh.
See, that's what I said. Called Zazie.
Oh,
and the song is called Excuse-moi.
Excuse-moi. I like that song.
Second is All You Had to Do Was Stay by, you can probably guess who that is, which is slightly worrying because if all my Apple Music is from 2000, like, not actually, no, yeah, let's say it's from 2005 or something, right? And I've only been listening to Taylor Swift for 3 years. How many times have me and my husband played that damn song? Seriously, for it to get to number 2 by now. There you go.
It's all good. But it lets me. Hey, listen, that will go. Usually, the reason why I always ask people these questions, especially the one about your life and the soundtrack, we pull it into a playlist in the Ask People podcast playlist. Yeah, so that's what we do. So we ask everyone a question, and we put it in the playlist. So those 2 songs are going to be put in the playlist. So that's going to be pretty cool. So
well, it'll be something. Yeah.
So, so let's talk about the power of words. Okay, this is really important. So you might need a pen for this one, but the power of words. Hey, you're on ball. The power of words, the power of our tone,
Yep.
the power of the goals that we set for ourselves,
Uh-huh.
the eye to mouth rule, if there is ever one, the importance of social awareness. Your voice has incredible power, which it does. And the power of that, which we kind of spoke about, unconscious mind. Yeah, I love that. So if I was to say to you, Neil, which ones of those resonate with you with the power and the ability to talk about, and you feel that you would give great advice to people, but also something that you have learned from having those thrown at you, what would you talk to me about?
Just let me. So the only one I didn't get was the one after goals.
Goals? Hold on. The eye to mouth rule, and then we
eye to mouth rule.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, right, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, like the delay before you speak once you've seen something.
That's the one.
Okay. I think you've spoken me. Yeah, quite. I don't think that even exists in Liverpool, and thank God for that. And actually, in back in the day as well, or in Southeast London, which is why I love Southeast London. It used to be just like Liverpool. Anyway, do you know what? I'd actually, the coach in me kind of wants to have a go. Just try and go at all of those, and maybe just keep it succinct. But if you feel we need to cut, just
No.
so.
We don't need to cut anything. So you go. You let it flow.
So, I mean, words are really, really important for me, particularly at the moment. And this came from my health. So I went on a course. Somebody said to me, there's a course that you can go on, and the rates of recovery in terms of symptoms for fibromyalgia are enormous. And I haven't actually asked what your language rule is yet on this podcast.
I don't have a language rule, honey.
You don't? Okay,
I am the language rule.
I suspected that, but nobody wants a bollock out of place, which is just about what I was just about to do.
No, so, you're free. Freedom of speech.
Free to say bollocks. So, and I did think that sounds like a load of bollocks to me, and I went on the course, and sure enough, 70% of my symptoms, in a very short space of time, evaporated. Yeah, more or less evaporated. I mean, they still come back. But the whole idea that I could speak to you, for example, at 20, now, without sounding like I was eating 5 marshmallows, because that's kind of what happens to your speech with fibromyalgia, particularly when you're tired. That whole, I can't even say it, dysphasia, something phasia. Somebody's phasing someone. I never even imagined that could be the case. And one of the big things on that course, called the lightning process, I'll give it a shout because it really deserves it, was that the whole idea of reframing positivity, kind of reframing things to the positive. And again, in the wellbeing sector, there's an enormous amount of fascists who do that. They kind of bully the crap out of you and refuse to listen to anything that they deem as negative. It's not that. But instead of saying, "Oh, I'm really stressed," I'm suffering from stress, it will be something that, I'm just roughly riffing here, but it will be something like, "I'd like to feel free today. I'd like to feel calm." So and your brain does listen to that, you know, as lots of people probably know. The brain. There you go. There's an example. The brain has a negativity, but we have a negativity bias because back in the day, you know, we were going to get eaten by dinosaurs, so we needed to know what was about. So that kind of but that has more and more is kind of affecting the words that I am using. And likewise with things like binary thinking and othering and you know, really being aware that, you know, I've written posts on LinkedIn. I know I've done this where I've been binary at the same time as complaining about people being binary. Or I'm othering, you know, because it's them that are doing the othering posts. It's not me. It's like, Neil, seriously. So and I think you can drive yourself nuts with that as well. But I think just being much more aware of language and what language can do. So people who don't have PTSD and have and aren't trauma survivors, please don't use the word triggered, because it really pisses the rest of us off. And you're not triggered, you're upset, you know. So just be more nuanced about use of language. So that's what I'd say about words, and that keeps us healthy and keeps us well, but also connects us much better to other people. Yeah. Okay, that's one.
I like that one.
Okay, tone. Something that invites people in. I think we in terms of expressing ourselves, we shouldn't censor ourselves, and, you know, also louder tones and less friendly tones and fiery tones are also really important for how we live and how we express ourselves, and certainly how we express our art. But again, just being more fluid and aware. There's so much aggression out there at the moment.
Yeah, there is.
And aggressiveness, and it makes my heart ache. And I understand. I really understand. And you know, our reactions to that are often to compound it. And I was thinking about ghosting. Like, you know, everyone ghosts everyone, so all of us don't want to be ghosted. So we end up ghosting. It's these little traps that we get ourselves in, and I think, again, just kind of being aware of the tone we're using, or what that tone might be. And younger people don't even know; they're not even aware, you know, sometimes, because they're surrounded by brusqueness and aggressiveness all the time, you know. So I think it's not an easy win, but it certainly could make an enormous difference to the way that we live.
That is true.
And our own connectivity to others as well. Goals. So again, I think I'm saying this as a coach as well. When I did my training as a coach, when they started talking about goals, I curled up inside and wanted to not get involved, because, and I'm sure anyone that's working in the public sector will completely know where I'm coming from with this. Goals are there essentially to kind of further the agenda of whatever public sector place you are in a lot of the time, rather than actually furthering you professionally. If the two match, then great. But certainly my experience was not that. They were, you know, my life goals and my professional goals that I wasn't even aware of, and what I was being asked to do was so opposite, and so I kept failing. So my thing about goals is that I think we should all stop trying to improve so much, that maybe we're kind of all right as we are. And yeah, you know what? We need to plateau. Like this year, that's exactly what. But when I was planning my business kind of ideas for this year, and I was talking to my coaching supervisor, I said, actually, I don't want to do anything this year. I just actually want to consolidate what I've learned so far before I make the next stretch forward. Which doesn't mean I'm not doing other stuff in business I wasn't doing before, or coaching that I wasn't doing before. But so my goals, my New Year's resolutions were: do less, plan less, be less.
I might have to write that down.
Just because I think we're beating ourselves up all the time.
Too much pressure. Yeah.
Exactly, and I'm very specific about what I'm doing and how much I want from that. but again, with a kindly eye and a bit of a nurture in mind rather than a smash it, do it, tick it kind of approach. So yeah, goals are really, I think they're really, really important to me. But I also think, again, I was talking before about being over attached to the idea of being a writer or your creative title. I think that we can get over attached to lists and to goals as a way of trying to feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
And actually, the real work is just there as we are, just as we be.
I like that.
Item after rule, I'm the worst person to talk about for that. But the fact I'm managing to actually, so far, I don't think I've said anything that's particularly, footed. Yeah, so that's quite a miracle. But in general, I mean, in terms of reactivity, because I think there's a lot of reactivity in just people talking to themselves, and certainly, item out does not exist when I'm coaching, and I've been trained for that. Needed to be, but I think if we can just buy ourselves a reflective space before we speak, and really connect to the other person, even if what they're saying is really vile, actually, or really, really against everything we believe in.
Oh, I've had that many
just
times.
to kind of hold that space more, and so our response is likely to be one that's something that we feel we've chosen rather than they've had the agenda to make us react, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, and I'm saying that from a lot of having learned that, not that I still do it, but social awareness.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like the core of my whole sense of being. Our society and the way that we interact as communities or don't is for whatever reason has been an ethical and kind of moral mission for me since I've been a little kid. Actually, I do know why, because my parents got divorced. That's why.
There you go. Yeah.
And there was a lot of trouble that followed after, so for decades. So I think being aware of other people and listening to other people's stories and not just fighting for our own injustice is kind of crucial, especially at this point in history. Just, it's not, I was talking about hierarchy before, wasn't I? But actually, we seem to have got ourselves into a position where we're talking about hierarchies of injustice as well. And on one level, that's really important. I don't want to say it's not good. I would, that would be an awful thing for anyone to claim that wasn't the case. But somewhere within that, we've got to be listening to other people or talking to other communities. Otherwise, we're never going to move forward, and it's going to become even more entrenched, which, in my opinion, is exactly what this country, the people who run this country would want, whoever they are right now. I don't hear anybody saying anything about bringing us together. I hear the word inclusivity used a lot, but that generally makes me want to laugh or cry into my suit, depending on the level of bullshit I'm hearing from the people who are using it. But
usually it's the big organizations that use that word.
Oh yeah, but it's like it's like a lot. I've said this. I think a lot of the what's it called, DNI, is it called now? What used to be called equalities. And we'll have another name in 3 years' time. But I think I'm at the point where, so I'm gay, I'm dyslexic, I'm dyscalculic, I'm a Scouser, does that count? I'm Jewish, I'm living with fibromyalgia and PTSD, as I've said before. I've got so many labels that I can hang off myself. That's giving me some horrible image. That's a bit much for this time of night, isn't it? I know. Sorry about that. That actually, I don't want other people speaking on my behalf, and I hear a lot about some of those things like chronic health and and others of those kind of outsider perspectives in the mainstream, but not generally from the mainstream. And often when it is from the mainstream, it's about someone talking about their truth. So it becomes their personal journey, which absolutely needs to be heard. But somehow that does not help reach out to communities of people, all of whom are having very different experiences. So I mentioned fibromyalgia before, of course, but someone else's experience of fibromyalgia will be completely different to mine. So there's a point where I couldn't walk properly, and I used a walking stick for about 3 years. But some people are in wheelchairs or can't get out of bed because their chronic fatigue is so horrendous for months, you know. So everybody's experience is different within those parameters. So how do we? So that's what I want to hear. I want to hear, like, neurodivergence is the hot topic at the moment, isn't it? So I'm doing some work at the moment, actually. You know, I'm saying I am a neurodivergent person, but I'm not speaking for every single person who has dyscalculia or other neurodivergent, brain patterns. I was just about to say conditions. I just stopped myself in time.
I saw that.
That's what I'm talking about with words, you know. But I'm doing some work with someone else who's also neurodivergent, but really wants to kind of be able to open up the debate in a much more raw, kind of real way. So so I think social awareness is really, really important, but maybe that's more about some of us just shutting the hell up and listening to other people, actually, and making an emotional connection and a compassionate connection. So okay.
I like that.
I think I've probably covered voice has power through this, right?
Yeah, you have, actually.
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, you have.
And the unconscious mind, well, you know, certainly from mindfulness, another thing I think a lot of us try and do is control the world around us to a degree that is impossible, and micromanaging, whether that's a workplace thing or whether that's trying to wring the most out of your life thing, I think that's always counterproductive. You know, we actually all just need to let go of lots. It doesn't mean we shouldn't plan. We should plan. We should have, you know, ideas about what we want to do and who we want to be, but actually we need to trust ourselves much more to let those things unfold. And, you know, COVID has pointed out, not very politely, to the whole world that the world is uncertain and we're all mortal. And those are the two main tenets of mindfulness of Buddhism. And it's not that you kind of, you know, it's not that you kind of go, okay, that's okay then. It's not about that, but it's about practicing for acceptance every single day, and actually learning to not be as fearful of it. And I suppose, you know, surviving a car crash is a pretty good way of, and I literally in that car when I was seconds away, and we're listening to A History of Seven Killings by somebody in put a little thing in there, or somebody who's listening, remind me who's written that. Marlon. Do you want me to pause and look it up on my phone?
Go and look it up.
This kind of matters. It'd be really disrespectful because that book is so amazing. Let's just go on my Audible app. Other apps are available. Okay. History. I want to say Marlon Jennings, but I'm sure that's not right. History of Seven. Dyslexic spelling now, so it takes 3 times as long because I'm trying to rush it. 7.
There's no rushing. Take your
A Brief
time.
History of Seven Killings. Marlon James. Incredible book. There was this our whole so we were listening to that in the car when things started going awry, and there's a section in it where a death is described in so much detail and so slowly and horrifically and brutally, and that was the soundtrack to us crashing. And at one level, you know, I can't laugh about it because it's just like, you know, but I, you know, talk about I just couldn't be more focused on what was, you know, what was happening. But and I did. I kind of I really thought it was going to happen. But I suppose that has kind of taught me that I kind of came out of that and thought, why am I pushing? Why am I trying to create? I shouldn't be here. You know, this is like bonus tracks on a CD. Every day now is a world within itself. That's just, so that's a pretty brutal way to come to that conclusion. And, I wouldn't wish anybody else to kind of have that experience, but certainly just to be able to let go and trust ourselves a lot more as a species, just to trust ourselves a lot more, that we have the right answers in us. I think that could make an enormous difference, and lots of that is in the unconscious, no question about it.
I love the way that you explained all of that.
Well, I hope some of that's useful.
All of it is useful. It's not just some of it. It's all of it is useful. It's just what we do as beings is we take the elements that resonate with us at that particular time. Yeah. And then we use that. And then if something happens to us again, we go back again and listen. And this is the thing about books. You don't just read them and put them on the shelf. It's the thing about podcasts. You don't just listen to them and then say, I've done it now, I've listened to it. There are going to be times in your life where something every time is going to resonate with you in a different way. It's like watching a movie the first time and then watching it a second time and realizing you didn't see that part in the movie the first time, and then you watch it again and you realize you didn't see that other part in it. It's exactly what life is like. That is
I love that.
Exactly what life is like.
I love that, and that was also making me reflect on. Do you remember where you were when you heard this song? That people say that, and now, and it does matter to me actually. That Marlon James book, apart from being just an incredible book anyway from start to finish, and one that just really blew me away. Is also the soundtrack to My Survival, which is quite something. Yeah, I should get a physical copy of it, shouldn't I?
I think I'm definitely gonna get you a copy. So when I buy, when I get a copy, you might just see one in the post, and you'll be like, "Where this one from?"
Oh, yeah.
You just see me sign it. It's from me. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Free coaching session for you then for that. Then.
Oh,
call that the price.
Oh man, so I only have 2 more for you, Neil. And my second to last one would be, what is the best advice you believe in your life that you have ever received? There's times in our life where we have different advice from different people because people come in and out of our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah.
But what would you say is a memory or a person that has given you advice that you take with you?
The guy who ran the training course for my coaching diploma, Damien Wonfall, he's still my coaching supervisor. And over the last 4 years, I learned after a while, usually when there was something I felt unsure about, I learned that his answer was almost always going to be the same. He would add some value to a situation and give me some techniques, perhaps, or some questions, some really thoughtful coaching questions. But it's always, you're already doing it.
I like that.
And I use that a lot in my posts, and I use that a lot in my own thinking as well. Certainly, if I'm gonna text Damien or ask him, something. There's so much that we're already doing. And I see it, in the people that I'm privileged enough to work with as well. So that's mine. You're already doing it.
I like that. I wish you guys could see Neil, because when Neil speaks, he speaks with so much empathy. But when you know someone means what they say, no, it's true. It's a beautiful thing to be able to have that. There are people that, listen, we all know, I don't want to get into politics right now. where there are people who say things but just say them for the sheer fact of they're on the TV, it has no meaning, it has no connection. They just say it because they know they have the power and the ability to just say it to try and win over people. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the world who haven't found their light just yet. So what they do is they follow people they believe they think that they have light. And they're not really the ones that have the light. They're just the people with the power that have other power. But I say this to everyone. Once you find your light will shine. Don't let anybody dim that light. That's very important. And that's just something I want to point out. But yeah, I'll move on from that.
Yeah, well, if I can kind of reflect back to that as well. Thank you, by the way. But it's easier when it's being open for. Thing about uncertainty is you never know when you're going to connect with someone that really has true value. And when you and I did our pre-call to this, which is usually like a podcast pre-call, is like 15 minutes of we're going to do this, we're going to do this. You might have a bit of a chat with the person. We didn't do that. It's just immediately we knew. So part of the reason why I feel really comfortable and I'm speaking at real length about some of this stuff is because of the connection that you and I have made, and that makes me feel really able to kind of express that. So I'm also really grateful for that. So
oh. When you don't want to end the podcast, this is the thing. You have such a beautiful time with someone, you don't want to end it, but there's going to be a part 2 and there's going to be a bullying one. So we might just do like a feature of like 4 and then we'll see where it takes us.
I'm definitely up. No, I'm definitely up for that. And yeah, we're going to go and do coffee and kind of chat at a different point to this anyway. You're going to come over and meet my dog. That's
fine. I'm happy. I love animals. My cat is somewhere. He was popping his head in and out of the flap because I got a flap. So in the studio where I am, I put a flap for him. So he can pop his head in and out anytime. And if he wants to jump on me while I'm doing the podcast, I leave him. Because then he comes in. Yeah.
That's really cute.
I do that. So, Neil, my last question for you is I have had the abundant joy of having you on the podcast. And I would love for everybody else to be able to do that too. Could you tell us where we could find you?
Yeah, I'm really bad at this. So there's two main places. I'm LinkedIn. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? You can imagine all the advice I give for people as well about how to market themselves. There's two main places that you can find me. One is on LinkedIn, which is trying to give the link to your LinkedIn name is never gonna work on radio on kind of a podcast, is it? Because it's just like / number this. But I think I've sent you the details, haven't I? I think
you have. Yeah. It will all be in the description, so it will be there.
But I've also got a website recently designed and opened by a wonderful guy called Paul Creamer, and the web address is lifecoach-london.com. So and you can certainly get in contact from me from there. But equally, if you can find me on LinkedIn, please feel free to pop up and give me a message. I'm always really happy to talk to people and kind of get to know people, particularly with some of the the issues we've been talking about today, and that we will be talking about in the Future 3 podcast and the cup of coffee and the dog. And your cat at some point, I hope, as well. So.
Oh yeah, Echo-san. Yeah. That sounds good to me. Neil, thank you so much for taking your time and showing who you are as a person, your honesty, your compassion, but more than anything, your love for life and understanding and knowing a lot of what you've been through on the podcast and most definitely off the podcast. I know that people will resonate with a lot that you have said today, a lot that you will say in the future. And more than anything else, they will find belief in themselves to know that they're not alone in the world of being able to flourish and evolve in whatever they want to do in life. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Savia, and until next time.
Till next time, guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the As People podcast, and please remember you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and you can also donate to the As People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website or just typing in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
Peace of mind. I need a solution. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with her. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with confusion. Yeah, I'm done. I need a solution. Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind.
People say that having a peace of mind is trying to find a consistency of calmness within ourselves, to crave for a clarity that drives us through our emotional journey of life, to never let a person's judgment manifest into a fear inside of us, learning to believe in our ability to shine through the darkest moments and tunnels when we cannot see the light. Patience being our light for forgiveness and strength, to believe in our destiny. If you want real peace of mind, one needs to stop fighting their inner thoughts and embrace them with love, because love is the most amazing and beautiful strength that we have to conquer our peace of mind. Make your thoughts impact a nation by keeping them true and honest, especially to yourself, but make your peace of mind protect you when you don't have strength to embrace anything else. Find your peace of mind by listening to your heart.
Peace of mind, gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy.
That's kind of how we thought it would go down, wasn't it? Have you seen the time? My battery's almost completely drained. That's amazing. Yeah, I do. I thought we would, chemistry-wise, we work really well together as well. And I know obviously you don't know until you do it, but yeah, I think we might well have quite a lot else to say as well. I agree with you on that. Yeah, that was your generosity was amazing, though. Just thank you for just keeping the space and just giving me a chance to kind of think about what I do as well. Really appreciate it. Yeah.